Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and in today's video, we are going to get into some CoDRAMA with NOIR, Snowman63, some people that were removed. How does this affect top alliances? What does this kind of say about some of the state of the game? And going over a lot of screenshots. It's going to be an interesting one, I will say that. Now, before I get started, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us some. And keep in mind, and let me preface some things appropriately here in the beginning before we start off this escapade, if you will, is that top alliances, and let's just say top and active alliances in general, should be doing some form of performance auditing, player auditing for each KVK season. And of course, it depends on how that kingdom is ran, and then how the alliance is ran, and what prerequisites or thresholds or objectives or goals that are set early on. And hopefully everyone in the alliance is being informed beforehand, so that way they have realistic expectations and appropriate expectations are being set by the management team in an alliance before a season begins. So that way players have a clear understanding of what the marks are that they either need to hit or they need to try to achieve in order to either stay in the alliance, maybe stay in their specific position if they're R1, R2, R3, R4, maybe if their focus or scope that they have, like for example, maybe some people are just, RSS farmers, and they're transferring RSS to players who are fighting on the front lines, and then they're also participating by kind of doing support work. So maybe they're not fighting on the Vanguard, but they're allowing for the Vanguard to not have to kind of position themselves in a support role, like for example, building and destroying objectives, right? Or objective buildings or alliance buildings. So they get to go kind of fight on the front line. And maybe you're someone who is a Vanguard person who fights on the front line. My point is just to kind of give you two different examples for what I have seen in some alliances, and I'm sure there's others as well. And so once that happens, you have a clear understanding, and then you have kind of the execution part, which is not to say that you're going to die, but just the fact that the management team will execute said plan or what they have informed the players of on what they will be doing based on if you've hit certain thresholds or not. So with all that being said, let's dive in to what exactly is going on. So Snowman63, let's set some appropriate, again, context here, is that Snowman63 is a free-to-play player. And he has been a top free-to-play player. You can see here when I pulled the data, which was about 3 weeks ago here in June, that he was the number 3 free-to-play player in the world right now. And again, working his way up, him and Mars pretty close. And you can see here as well, right, he also has kind of his VIP 15 unlocked, right? He did that in 392 days, right? 3rd fastest to do that in the game. And then let's go to kind of some things about like NOIR's removal process, right? Because again, we have to set some appropriate groundwork here. So this is a notice that was sent, I don't know exactly, oh, here we go, 5/18. So you can see, right, this is about a month and a half ago, if you will. Just mentioning, like he says, I'm starting the removal process just like previous seasons. Please refrain from messaging me. This is Satoru, the lead, and asking why you were kicked. Try to find alliances that are compatible with your gameplay. As stated in the Decree Alliance meeting, I'll be removing 30 to 35 people in the next few weeks. I can only imagine or assume that that is from the data on player stats, on potential KVK performance, and then just kind of coming to that conclusion on this is the amount that we'll be removing. Then we fast forward. Let's just look at some of Snowman's Deets, right? So you can see here, right, a lot of RSS gathered, has even given some resources, right? Assessments given. Now, this is a free-to-play, right? So you would imagine most of the resources, now 30 million isn't anything major, but it is still something, right? And you could probably argue if you saw someone that had 0 on here as a free-to-play, right, you probably wouldn't really bat an eye because it would more or less be understandable. Then we get to something that Satoru said, right, just to kind of set the stage appropriately, saying publicly, right, our Snowball is very active, right? So he publicly acknowledges that Snowball is a very, or Snowman, I should say, is an active player. And now, so let's go to, now keep in mind, I want to be very clear here, right? You can see, based on this, there is a Captain Snowball, but he's not there, right? He just said Snowball for that matter. Am I showing this off correctly? Okay, good, I am. Right? So Snowball is in NA, Snowman is in NOIR. I just want to be very clear there, because some people might be like, well, is he like maybe referring to something else? So yeah. Okay, so Snowball's active. Now let's get to a DM that Snowman has sent with me with Satoru, right? So he says, hi friend, hey bro, what's up? Hi, friend. Do you think I will be safe trying to push power as best as possible? I will be at 57 mil at reset and always trying to be active as much as possible in wars and alliance activities. Just saw we are running out of room, maybe with new recruits coming in, so thought of asking, right? He sent this 6 days ago on the 30th. Satoru responds, you are active enough, but I understand you are free to play. I'm not against free to play, but you got to be super active. So essentially an acknowledgement that you're not going to be removed. You're active enough, right? Now, you could maybe, if you want to sit there and play the Read Between the Lines game, you could say he's active enough at the moment. But the fact is that when someone responds like this to you, and they're clearly asking you, will I be safe? And you say you are active enough, that is an acknowledgement that you're good, you're not going to be removed. That's how I view that. If other people view it a different way, well, you're wrong. So yeah, for sure, completely understand. We'll be super active going forward and be involved as much as possible. Thank you for understanding, friend. I really appreciate it. Won't let you down. Then we get to the next message here, which essentially says that, bro, I guess it's time. I'm kicking based on stats. I'm sorry, Aka effing excuse me. Okay, so based on stats. Okay, so first off, said you weren't going to be kicked. Now you're kicked. Now let's break down the reasoning. So the reasoning is that he's getting kicked based on stats. Okay, so some people may say, well, boss, you know what? That's fair, right? That's fair-ish, right? Even though, yeah, he did go back on his word, he's got to make cuts, right? There clearly couldn't be anyone else in the alliance that's being kept that has lower stats than Snowman, because that wouldn't make sense. Okay, so let's continue down the rabbit hole. So let's look at some of Snowman's stats. So 81 million units killed, 231,000 deaths, 118 million units healed. Okay, so let's look at a couple players, and I want to point out, nothing against any of these individuals, just using this for references. So let's look at some players here, right? 15 million units killed, 43 million units healed, 282,000 dead. Let's look at another one, 49 million units killed, 315,000 dead, 98 million units healed. Let's look at another one. 51 million units killed, 265,000 dead, 83 healed. Now, for those of you that are wondering, well, boss, are these people still in the alliance? Yes, they are. I just took these screenshots a little while ago, probably around 13:30 UTC on July 5th. And you can see, I'm going to show you each one here, right? So you can see them at the top, right? There's one, there's another here top left, and then there's the third one top right. All right, so still in the alliance at... Now, yes, you could make the argument, well, maybe they're going to be removed. Maybe they just haven't been removed yet, right? And maybe you could then make the argument that, well, okay, and now keep in mind, some of these people are stronger and have a stronger power than some of the other people that are in the alliance, right? Where you can see some here as low as wherever I just saw, right? There's one at 69. I'd have to actually go through and look at everyone exactly if there's anyone below 69, just to give you an example, because I can only go off the screenshots right here. But just to show you that there are some, right? At least at the moment as it stands. Now we'll see. Again, keep in mind the likelihood, I would say, of these people being removed, given specifically here that matchmaking is going to be announced today at reset, I would argue is highly unlikely. However, it could still happen. So let's move on. You've been removed from your alliance, right? So he gets the message. Snowman gets the message. You've been removed from the alliance. Now, these are some other people. I want to be clear here. These are some other people that have also been removed from the alliance, from NOIR. Now, obviously, some of the names are crossed out appropriately, so I'm just going to kind of go through this. But now we kind of get to some challenges here on players that are being removed. Keep in mind, this is not the 5K gem migration. This is the migration permit migration round. Meaning that if these players were going to be removed, or if there was any sense that they were going to be kicked earlier, they could have been given a heads up ahead of time during the 5K migration cycle. Now, you can make the argument and say, okay, well, that happened last migration cycle, and maybe they didn't know that they were going to remove these people. Okay, fair. If that's the case, then I would argue that it is still reasonable and realistic and responsible for an alliance's management team to let their players know well enough in advance that they're going to be removed. Why is that? Well, you have to consider the amount of time it takes to grind permits. especially if you are not able to spend on them. And it doesn't mean that the expectation is that, well, just because you're in a top spending alliance that anyone can spend on them. Maybe you don't want to spend on them. Why do I have to spend on them? Maybe I want to grind the passports out the old-fashioned way. Nothing wrong with that. And so this is where you start getting into kind of tricky territory on, are you giving people enough notice to where they can grind permits out from credits, where it's not just a expectation that they are going to spend money on permits. Maybe they don't want to, as I said. And then number two, are you going to allow them enough time in the alliance to earn the amount of permits they need? Because let's be very clear here about how the alliance is set up, right? So you have NOIR, which is at 22 plus billion. The next strongest alliance is NO2, right? Which again, from what has been reported, is that NOIR does not want a sub-alliance. Who knows if they want to farm, right? These are basically titled as Rochelle's. And the next strongest one is 2.3 million power, right? Billion, excuse me. I have to make sure I get my M's and B's right. So 2.3 billion is where the power is for the number 2 shell. However, as I said, it's been reported that they don't want sub-alliances. So, okay, you don't want a sub. Who knows if you want to farm? They're all titled as, or most of them in the top 5 or top 6 alliances, I believe, are titled as Rochelle's. And so, and we can corroborate that as well. If you look over here at NO4, you can see NOIR Shell 3. I think there's one up here for 5 or something. NO5, right? So NOIR Shell 4, NO2, and then there's an NO3 over here, right? Again, just to give some context there. Oh, sorry, hang on. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. Okay, lovely. So now we get to the next one here, right? So you see some more people that are being removed from the alliance, and then we get to where you're at this situation now of however many people have been removed, right? It was reported, again, from what he said, right? 30 to 35 people are being removed. Who knows if all of those have been removed or not, but I know from what has been mentioned to me that around 20 people, give or take, have been removed already. So you have these people that have been removed. I can only assume they've probably gone to NO2, because why would they go anywhere else unless they want to stay allianceless? And what are they doing? Well, they're probably trying to farm permits. I would be curious to know how many of them were made aware in advance. How many of them got a personal DM that wasn't just, I'm removing you based on stats? Which, again, you can argue if that's okay or not. I very much lean towards having a little bit more kind of, what's the TLC approach when you are informing people that they are being removed, to each their own. And then, at the same time, allowing them enough time to farm credits to buy the necessary amount of permits, unless they are going to let you know that they are going to purchase permits themselves, right? So kind of some strong assumptions on management, if you will, to remove people without absolutely knowing if they're going to buy the permits, and kind of just saying, well, you know, F it, you know, you're being removed, you know, sorry, not sorry kind of a thing. And then you're just left to kind of deal with the situation. So let's get on, moving on here. So this is something where it says, like, I'm not into war. I can easily understand you will need flag for your RO4 team. Launch a build and I will send you. I have nothing else to do since I get the certificate, right? Which I'm imagining that's he's looking to get permits or enough credits to get permits. Will they zero us if we stay? Maybe, I don't know. It could be easier to find a new server before migration, but now we need the certificates, right? So this is a number of people that need permits. I can only imagine maybe this is NO2 Alliance chat. And then we get to what I think is a pretty damn, I don't know if I want to say damning, but it's pretty aware and apparent, right? Because this was sent on the 11th, so less than a month ago, where it says, right, read carefully. When you are removed, this is my goodbye. Period. I mean, it's just direct. Don't message me. Damn. You need to migrate to other server in the end of the season using 5k gems. Right, and keep in mind, we're not in the 5k gem migration window anymore. If you stay in server 5, we will zero your account in home kingdom regardless of your power. So there's already a declaration that these people are going to get zeroed, which, to be fair, makes absolutely no effing sense to me. You are going to remove people if you're not, and keep in mind, this is if you are not giving them a heads up, you're not allowing them enough time to farm permits and or purchase, right? Which is to not just assume solely that they're going to purchase to migrate out. 3, that they're able to make it out during the window. And then 4, if they don't, which again is a high percentage chance or a higher percentage chance than a lower one, that they probably won't be able to make it out within the migration window because they're being removed at that time. Especially for some of these people that were removed just days before the migration window is going to end, and then some of them more than a few days before. And then you're going to tell them that you're going to get zeroed. I mean, that's rough. That is like that's how players quit the game. Let's just be very honest. That's how, maybe not how they will always do it, but that very much has to be a high percentage chance, or a well enough of a percentage chance that if that happened to them and they got kicked or zeroed, that they would not quit the game. Like that would not be a factor to them stopping to play. So that's rough if you think about it. Number 3 is stay active, work on pets. Right, we are now the only ancient power left after TFS fell. Everyone will want us to fall now, which again, coincidentally, is not what this video is about. Prepare gangbang next season. We won't go down easy against the world. Okay. Then we're gonna get to like this like GreyBall situation with Gunz and others, because this was something I just thought was interesting. That plan, and I'm only gonna go off of what publicly has been stated. So, touching on this briefly, because I probably will do some kind of conclusion here at the end, is that it is rough all around. Like, one, to recap, Satoru says that Snowman is good, not going to be removed, goes back on that, and then removes for stats. But his stats are better than a number of other people's stats in NOIR currently, even though we only showed 3 examples. We could have shown more. And then you get to this situation where these people that are being removed, it's just like the way that they went about it is, I think, what gets me. Right now, I don't have anything against Satoru personally. I don't have anything against anyone in NOIR personally. I'm only speaking to objectively what we are seeing, right? The actions and the words that are being stated. Because I think that this is an important lesson to be learned on. Now, keep in mind, maybe there's other screenshots out there. Maybe there's other things out there that we haven't seen. Maybe Satoru did everything else on the up and up, and or members of the NOIR management team. I don't know. Again, we're only going off what we see here. However, I do feel that we've seen enough to where I can conclude that the opportunities here were definitely present. And better ways to go about this, ones that we've already alluded to thus far, those steps could have been taken and should have been taken. Because this is, for the most part, players' livelihoods, right? You have to also think about this, right? Snowman, to give some context here, Snowman ended up having to be gifted bundles, specifically for the migration permit bundles, in order to migrate out. He had to also, right, because again, free-to-play can't do anything. I mean, you have to think in mind, if he's relegated, basically, to the second alliance, that could kill a free-to-play's account. That could probably kill almost anyone's account, especially if you're talking about development, but more so for a free-to-play compared to someone who could spend. And so that is almost death to a free-to-play, if you will, especially going from a situation he's in from like 100 all the way to 0. Right? It wasn't like he just got removed from a low spending or mid spending. Like, this is a high spending alliance on average. Right? Up there with TFS, up there with NA, up there with EIS, up there with Pay to Win, etc. Like a number of others, right? Excuse me for not naming everyone, of course. And so him feeling like, well, I need to get out because if I can't get out, I'm going to be almost screwed. I can understand that fear. I can understand that, I don't want to say anxiety, but that pressure, right? That scare, the fear, if you will, of being there in a situation where you are not able to do everything that you usually are. And so then we get to a couple friends assisted Snowman in helping him get out. And now it's, okay, well, he also had to give up 250 million RSS. He also had to delete 200,000 troops. Now, keep in mind, for a free-to-play, for those of you that are free-to-play, especially if you are very active, I mean, just imagine having to do that in addition to being removed from the alliance, having to leave, migrate out. Like, that's rough. It sucks. And so now I wonder, okay, well, what's going to happen with the additional alliances, because it was reported that, again, NOIR said they didn't want to have any additional subs. But now they're building out a second alliance, at least it appears so. Now, maybe there was an announcement about that, right? Again, that wasn't shared with me. But now I want to transition real quick and kind of get into this like GreyBallz, Gunz, Saint situation that happened in NOIR as well. So this was taken from the official Discord. I just wanted to, again, give some context here. Drago said, justice for Grey. And then you can see, right, Grey got sold so hard. Justice for my boy. Gunz and Saint leaving Grey. There was a screenshot here that Gunz replied to on a video. I think this was the one about him joining NOIR, where he said, whoa, Saint joined Echo. Yeah, with Sod. How could you both leave GreyBallz? Gunz replies, nothing personal, bro, just business. Again, I don't know if there's enough context. Maybe he was joking. Maybe he was being upfront. You know, again, I don't know everything around the situation. However, what I do know is that a number of people left, or a number of people, a few people, I guess, from Gunz's group in the circle joined NOIR. And it appears that GreyBallz was not able to get into NOIR. And that can be shown here if we just look at the right here top left. He's in NOIR shell number 2. Also taking a screenshot, you can see right still also there as well. And so, again, I did reach out to GreyBallz for comment. He did share some things with me, but again, asked that I just kind of keep those things out. So I'm only speaking about things publicly, right, that are available here. And essentially, I think that what we have here is a number of people went to NOIR, but not everyone was able to get in to NOIR. And so that, to me, I think, and again, even if you look at the situation overall, people still migrating to the kingdom, but not being able to get in, you know, were there conversations that happened? Did Saint, Gunz, and GreyBallz all have conversations with Satoru, whomever was handling recruiting for the alliance? Were they told they would all be able to get in? Or were they told, hey, you could still come, but not everyone could get in? If that's the case, are you willing to go? Like, how would you feel about someone who goes to a kingdom where they cannot get into essentially the only active alliance there, and they have to run through a whole season, up to a whole season, of not being in the main alliance, basically being in a 2 to 3 billion alliance shell, and not being able to basically develop for those 1.5 to 2 months, right? At least at a rate that you're probably normally used to. I don't know if that's death. I don't know how big of a... I would imagine that has to be a pretty... I don't want to say hard, but just not good situation. And of course, anything could change, right? Maybe more people get removed. Maybe some people get swapped in. Maybe they'll rotate. I mean, who knows? So this basically concludes my NOIR video. And as I said in the beginning, right, nothing personally against any of them. And I'm sure you could even hear me throughout the video speaking very objectively and neutrally, if you will, or in a neutral state, with the exception of where the evidence was just pretty damning at that point. And as I said, alliances can manage and they can run themselves however they want. For me, I very much like to look at the opportunities and the situations that we can point to and say, okay, well, hey, there are some improvements here. There are things that can be done better. And I think my biggest takeaways, as I alluded to a little earlier, is that this is a situation when you are removing people, you have to do a couple things here. Number one, you have to be so clearly transparent on what your removal guidelines are and thresholds are as it pertains to performance. Number two, you need to, at that time, also inform people well enough in advance that they either have time to purchase, if they plan to purchase, which you need to ask, or if they're going to farm credits, they need to be given a situation where they can farm credits at the bare minimum rate so they can get them when they reset and the max amount that they're able to get. And then 3, right, you would go through with removing. And 4, you would continue to support them until they leave, not just kicking them and throwing them to the side of the road, like you're kicking a can off down the street, right? Not like that. And so to me, I think those are the 4 most important things or most highlighted things as it pertains to you relegating players, if you will, out of your alliance based on KVK performance. And based on what we've seen here, there is multiple areas of opportunities where this could have been done better. And again, this is where it comes to not everyone, and I say this respectfully, but not everyone, is good at management. Now, that doesn't mean that not everyone can be good at management. What it means is that you have to be able to self-assess and be self-aware enough to know where your opportunities are for improvement and where your strengths are currently that you have. And when I look at something like this, these are just opportunities for improvement, right? These are things that Satoru and anyone else in the NOIR management can do better the next time around, because this is just, respectfully, it's just not a good look, right? And if I was someone in NOIR, unless things change, and unless things are publicly stated, announced that, hey, we're going to make some changes, and then you have actions that are consistently following through with said changes that are going to be made in how processing is done, essentially, and member care is done, I would almost be somewhat worried, right, for an extent. And I wonder if that adds on added pressure to everyone else there, which, to be fair, psychologically would probably be pretty stressful for a number of people, right? Now, maybe not everyone, but some potentially. And that doesn't really create a good state, if you will, and I would argue in any alliance for that matter. But again, these are things that NOIR and other alliances that are top and active will have to deal with. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, me sharing you the deets, giving you my take on things as well. And I have, keep in mind, I want to also be clear here, I've reached out to Satoru and I believe some other members of NOIR about doing an interview, because I've wanted to do an interview with the Alliance for a while now. I've also reached out to Satoru just to give him a heads up that I'm going to be doing a piece on NOIR, and of course, if he's interested after the video releases, to come on and again, share his POV, share his side, and also, kind of also would love to do a segued interview at that point about NOIR and how they go about doing things. Because like I said, right, they can manage, they can do things however they want. Any alliance can. But I do think that there are takeaways that we can look at and say, okay, well, right, maybe this could have been done or that could have been done differently, which would have helped out the member relationships. And I think that's always something that we can point to, as I like to talk about these things as well, that I've mentioned in the beginning, in an educational way. So with that being said, that's it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.